All right, today we're going to paint clouds. Here are some fun examples of artists' renditions of clouds. These would be the type of clouds that are called a stratus. Very stylized. Here's a great one. These would be your cumulus clouds, nice and puffy, and maybe starting to turn into those stratus clouds where they have some moisture in them. I couldn't actually find an artist example of the cirrus clouds, but those ones are just really cool looking. The cirrus clouds are the ones that are really wispy and kind of feathery like. So what we're going to do, here are some more examples, is we're going to paint those different clouds. So you guys are going to get a blue piece of paper. You can pick what value of blue you want, and then you're going to take a black crayon and you're going to divide your paper into thirds. 1, 2, 3. So I want you to use your paper vertically, not horizontally. All right, we're going to start with the cirrus clouds, and then we will do the cumulus, and then we'll do the, what's the last one? Stratus. Stratus. All right. We're going to use, since we have our background already colored, blue paper, we're just going to use some white tempera paint and a dry brush for these first clouds, the cirrus ones. And we'll use a little bit of black for the other clouds. But for this first technique, we want just a little bit of paint on our brush. We don't want a big pile of paint. Just brush the paint off so that it's just a nice thin layer there. Because we're going to make clouds that are kind of wispy like this and kind of like dry brush. I know if you guys have been with me, you've learned a little bit about dry brush. And then those clouds, it's like the wind is blowing them. So you're just going to use that brush to push those clouds around. And then we'll get more paint. And again, not a big puddle of paint like that. Oops. But wipe it and then drag it across your paper. And then we're going to pretend like the wind is blowing those clouds. So even with that puddle there, see, what does Mrs. Williams always tell you guys? There's no mistake in art. So I just made that puddle of paint into a cirrus cloud that looks like, ooh, it's so high up in the sky and the wind is kind of blowing it. It's got that feathery look. So we'll use that, like I said, that's called dry brush technique to make those cirrus clouds. All right, so once we have our cirrus clouds in there, now we're going to move on to cumulus. So the cumulus ones are the ones that are nice and puffy, and it's like a nice summer day, and you like to lay out on the grass and watch those clouds float overhead. So now we're going to want to load our brush with that white paint. And I like to start by just kind of pushing. I know I tell you guys not to push the paintbrush, but we're pushing that cloud, kind of making it puffy. And this would be like the one we watched Bob Ross do. And then down here on the bottom, you can just kind of soften it by softening that edge. And then we have a nice big puffy white cloud. We'll do the same thing over here, maybe make another one. So we're pushing that paint to just make a nice, fun, fluffy edge. And then you can kind of pull it down. And now you're kind of using that dry brush down here. So the bottom of the cumulus clouds are a little bit lighter and puffy. Now what I like to do sometimes is take just a dab of black, not a lot, because I just want maybe to just darken the cloud here, because it might have a shadow, maybe a little bit of moisture in it, and just pull that, and there's our cumulus clouds. Okay, now we'll do the stratus clouds. So the stratus clouds are the ones that kind of fill the whole sky. They tend to be lower. It's kind of like they call it a low fog, right? Well, we don't want to just paint it white. That's kind of boring, and we get the point. But I'm going to do some that are a little bit more stylized. So that the thing with the stratus clouds too is they usually have this kind of like flat bottom, and then they might look full like this, but they do have a little bit of moisture in them sometimes. So then we can put just a little bit, that's a little too much gray, but we're going to soften it and pull it down. And now I'm going to flip my brush over to the other side so that I can soften that edge. So now my cloud is having different values. And then maybe I'll do another one over here. And it kind of goes around that one. So I want a white edge next to that gray edge so that it looks like I have different layers of the cloud or the fog. And then a little bit, just a little bit of the black down there at the bottom. And then soften it by blending those two edges together. Okay, so light against dark. So this is dark, so now I'm going to come back with some white and just put the pure white next to it. So the white next to that darker color. You can even let a little bit of the blue show through. And that's what's going to create the layer, look like the layer of the clouds or the fog. And then again, just a little tiny touch of the black. All right, so you guys practice that. Practice doing those 3 types of clouds. And then we're going to put it all together and do a painting of the sky with one of those types of cloud formations. Stratus, cumulus, or cirrus. And maybe you could even combine the 2 of them. You could do, these ones are up high, the cirrus, so you could do those ones up high, and then maybe some cumulus down here below. It's totally up to you as the artist. But for today, we're just going to practice doing the clouds. And again, that key is some shadows down on the bottom and the light against the dark. Light against the dark to create that layering look. All right. Have fun with that, artists.